everyone, and welcome to NAB 2025. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the final day of the League of Filmmakers show at NAB 2025. I am Haley Royal, your host from Cinematography for Actors, and I'm back here for an encore that I'm really excited about with my new friend, Will von Tagen. He is the owner, operator, and founder of XLCS.
That's right.
Designs.
That's right.
Tell me about XLCS Design.
So the first thing, just to clarify, we pronounce the name XLCS. I know it trips a lot of people up. But once you hear it, you keep it in your mind. But XLCS, it's a derivative of the Latin word excelsius, obviously, which means to the highest degree, which is the aim we strive for in all of our work.
And you want to know what was happening? All day yesterday, the rest of my team was saying it correctly, and I thought they were just getting lazy. And I was like, I will pronounce each letter, and they'll be so proud of me. XLCS.
XLCS.
XLCS Design builds cages.
We do, yeah. We design and manufacture. Well, right now we're fairly new. We've been at it for almost 2 years. We had 2 years in July. July 4th is when we launched in 2023. And we started with just one camera package, one cage with a few accessories, and we're now at 6 cages.
In 2 years.
In 2 years, and growing as fast as we can. It's going great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Well done. Do you remember what was your first camera that you built for?
It was the original pocket cinema camera from Blackmagic.
Blackmagic.
So it all sort of happened by accident. I have a YouTube channel, fairly modest channel, and I talk a lot about the Pocket OG because I used it to shoot a feature film. And so I know the camera extremely well, and I think it's a great camera for beginning filmmakers to really understand cinematography at its sort of basic form. Very limited tool, but provides extremely good results. So I advise a lot of people to get that old camera if they can find it. It's very affordable. And I had a lot of users saying, okay, that's great, but in order to get much out of this, you have to rig it, and it's almost impossible to find cages now. And so I thought, okay, I will just reproduce a few cages and sell them on YouTube and see how it goes. And
on YouTube.
It was very well received, and so I sort of launched the company off of that.
How did you sell them on YouTube? What was
well,
the
just
inspiration
I had the presence on YouTube, so I would direct them to the website.
I see.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So those of us who are here with us on the live stream right now and may not have been with us yesterday, Will had spent a lot of time in news, where you had to be camera operator and reporter a lot of the time by yourself.
Yep.
And also you shot something that was very guerrilla style in Germany with that original 6K,
yes.
Correct?
Well, not the 6K, just the original.
This the OG.
Actually, only HD back then. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course it was, with the original. So I want to know, was this inspired largely by a lot of just like stuff you had to do on your own?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, especially through that process of working with that camera, I know the ins and outs of it, how people might use it, where its weak points are, especially that camera. A couple of things, you either break the screen on it or you break the HDMI port, and the camera's completely toast. There's no support for it, you can't get the parts for it. And so when I built that cage, I wanted to have a cage that also offered the micro HDMI lock support, a cover for the back to protect the screen, that you could lock into place and sort of essentially reach a point that if you threw that in your backpack, which I did a few times and broke a few cameras that way, you could actually do that and not have to worry about it. So that's sort of an approach I've since taken with all the designs, just to provide as much protection as possible, both for the camera body itself as well as the ports and accessories. So it's almost like, you get a cage that you can build and get a lot out of, but also you get a little bit of an insurance policy out of it too.
So really, a use case for something like this is not just all the stuff you can plug into it, but for a filmmaker on the go, it's really helpful to keep it alive longer.
Correct.
I mean, in our case, we have 2 big bags and we just kind of throw everything into them. Realistic, I mean, it would be nice to be able to keep everything in its original box, but that's just not realistic, right?
Yes.
So you need something to keep it safe. That is so great. So there is there's something very cool about this, beyond all of the things that it can integrate with. It's the way it's built, right?
Yes.
How's it built?
So these are CNC machined out of one solid piece of aluminum.
What does that mean?
So a CNC machine is a machining device, which it has a lot of bits that spin at a high rate of speed. They're kind of like drill bits that cut into the metal.
Yeah.
In layman terms. So this goes into a 5-axis machine, meaning it can be manipulated in different angles and the drill can be manipulated. And the 3D file of this is first designed in a computer in a 3D file, and then that is entered into a machine, it's programmed into the machine, and then the blocks of aluminum are loaded into the machine, and then the computer cuts out all the spaces for it. So especially when it comes to cages this size, it's very unusual to find ones that are fully machined. A lot of times there's a hybrid production where they'll either cast most of it and then cut the holes in with a machine.
Right.
But yeah.
So this is a lot sturdier.
It is. The problem with some of those hybrid or cast models that if you do drop them, they do risk breaking on the floor. So this one you can take a lot of weight. I had people standing on it yesterday on the floor just to see if they could break it, and yeah, it takes it without changing shape at all.
Wow.
So.
And it didn't at all. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what role did flexibility play in this? I mean, are there, I don't even know what anything is called, screw holes.
Yes, magic points.
For like lots of different types of things, even in the same place? What kind of stuff can
Right.
you
So, I mean,
hook
obviously, one thing that jumps out when people see this is just how many threaded holes there are on it. And it does seem excessive, and I'll give you that. But the purpose isn't to mount every single thing you have everywhere, all over the camera, all at once.
I see.
It's that wherever you might need to put something, you can. Because I've been on sets, I've had builds where it's like I needed to add one more thing, a mic pack, a tentacle sink, and it's like if I could just move it half an inch this way, I would be able to fit everything I wanted. But if there's nowhere to mount that, you're not going to be able to do that. And you're making a lot of sacrifices on your build. So we wanted to be sure that people could do everything they could with this without sacrificing that. And then another purpose is that the holes also cuts the weight. So even though this is solid aluminum, it's actually extremely lightweight as well.
Light.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at all that all of the perforations will make it less sturdy? Is there any kind of concern there? Has it been engineered perfectly?
It's been extremely well engineered. It has very, very tight tolerances. And beyond that, I mean, just the tensile strength of aluminum, a lot of people think, oh, is a threaded rod going into here into a quarter hole going to support a lens? Well, yeah, in fact, it could support about 300 pounds. I doubt you've got a lens that could weigh that much to break it.
A 300-pound lens.
Yeah, and I said, again, given that it was solid billet aluminum, there's no potential flaws within the internal structure of it, whereas casting, you might have had a weird gap in there somewhere.
Right.
So,
what kind of what influences changes you may make? Have you had to make any changes after you've completed a new model?
Yeah, and it's something that's really nice right now about being a smaller company. We can make changes pretty quick. So for instance, this is a brand new prototype of our micro cage. So we had an original version of our micro cage for our micro cinema cameras from Blackmagic.
Blackmagic micro.
And that was sort of a funny story, is that I was already designing one for the old camera, just like I did for the old OG. And right when I was about to go into production, Blackmagic announced the G2. And so I made a quick couple of mods to it and was able to go into production in time to have one available for the G2.
Wow.
However, the initial design was for the original micro. It still functioned perfectly with the G2, but as that stock ran out, I obviously had to place another inventory order, and I thought I'm going to make some design changes to it. For instance, this new one actually has a dovetail carved into it for the mount for the Pixis monitor. Blackmagic just announced that the Pixis monitor now works with the micro. And so people that have that are going to be able to mount that monitor directly to the cage itself. And if you aren't going to be using that, there's actually a little insert that slides into place there to fill that gap and adds another hole there. So if you want to put a handle there instead.
That is innovative.
Yeah.
Adds another hole instead of it just being like, I was like, oh yeah, I just covered up so you don't get caught on something. But it puts one more hole.
Yeah, and then we had some users saying that the gap in here was a little too tight to remove some cables, so we widened that up a little bit. We cut some native NATO rails into the body itself, just so that people didn't have to add stuff to this to keep it as low profile as possible. So I'm really excited about this new design. It's going to be coming out in 4 weeks or so once we take it through production. But
That's great.
yeah, having that ability to sort of adjust and make changes is really cool. So
Are you taking active feedback from users, or are you sending out betas and then?
I'm going to start doing some beta testing like that. So we do have a cage coming out very soon for the Lumix S9, and the prototypes just came in for that. So I'll be sending it to some users who have a lot of field experience with that. They can help identify the weak points for it.
Right.
But even when I'm not seeking that out, buyers do buy this and they love it, but they will come back to me and say, hey, if you ever do a revamp of it, here's something that I'm having an issue with. And getting access to the power port here was one of those that we did.
Also very important to be able to get access to it.
Yeah, well, you could still, it's still a little tight getting your fingers in that space. So
some people have a big honker fingers.
That's right, sausages.
to get in there.
So yeah, it's a cool process.
Accessibility-wise, yesterday we were talking about how, yes, you have accessories that come with these cages.
Yes.
But you've also built them so that they don't have to buy your accessories. They can use what they have.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. People that have been doing this for a while, you collect a lot of gear. I don't know how many top and side handles. So right now we don't actually produce our own top handle or side handle. But you can take literally any handle on the market and put it on here, whether you have to attach a NATO first or we have NATOs now built into some of our stuff. They'll thread into the larger 3/8 inch holes or 1/4 inch holes. So you can bring whatever you want to the table and it'll work with our stuff. We kind of meant to have a universality to a lot of our builds.
You can make your own mods.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see this one again. I have one more.
This guy?
No, the Pixis
Yeah.
one. Okay. What specific? I know this is the side because this is where the monitor is. What's this for?
So that's a ARRI Rosette mounting point.
Yeah.
And it's just a way that a lot of handles will attach to those. So they
ARRI
thread in,
Rosette.
and because it's got all these little divots around the side, it allows you to articulate the angle to whatever angle you want it. So if you're putting a hand grip on there, and let's say you prefer your wrist at a certain tilt, you can actually make sure that sits at that tilt angle and locks firmly into place and won't swivel once it's on there.
Wow.
So
you thought of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, how can people find them? How can people get them? How can people win them?
So you can go to XLCSDesigns.com, XLCS Designs. XLCSDesigns.com. We have an online shop there. We're also on B&H, so if you want to buy through B&H and you're ordering your camera at the same time, you can go ahead and pick them up there. Amazon as well, or you can come down to the League of Filmmakers booth today and sign up to win one.
Good. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Are you still YouTubing about them? And can you lead people? Can they find it that way?
Yes, as I have time, I wish I could do a lot more of it. It is very time consuming. Like I said, my channel's fairly modest, about 12,000. So you can sign up and follow us at Will von Tagen on YouTube. But yeah, as I bring new models out, I always do a video to explain how they work. I would like to get back to more of my original content, which was about filmmaking. And so keep an eye out for that stuff. I think as I grow and can hire people to take the load off of me, I can go back and do some of that stuff as well. So
very cool. And last thing, is there an Instagram?
There is an Instagram as well at XLCS Designs. XLCS
Designs.
XLCS.
Say XLCS.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Will. Thanks for coming back.
Absolutely.
And showing us this cool stuff you made, mostly by yourself. Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys.